Hello and welcome to coverage of the Magic Online Championship. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Eric Froelich, and we are just about underway for round 7 here. The players have been given the green light to play, though they don't seem to be in a super hurry to do so. And we've got an interesting matchup here in Modern. Jasper de Jong versus Ole Rade, and both decks featuring 4 copies of Collected Company each, although they take pretty significantly different routes to victory here. Efro, talk us through what this matchup looks like.
Well,
especially considering it's the first time you've ever commentated this matchup.
Yeah, I have never seen either of these decks before. So, yeah, I know exactly how this matchup plays out.
Well, give us some theory then.
Well, I feel like Jasper's got to be pretty far ahead. That's my take on it because, well, Ole has no way to disrupt the combo. I don't know exactly how fast the Elves deck is. It has, a bunch of different mana Elves. It has Mtgo Shrine to Nyx, as we can see now in his 6-card hand. So you can produce a lot of mana pretty fast. You can get Elvish Archdruid that can produce a ton of mana, make your creatures bigger. And, of course, Azuri, Renegade Leader, can go over the top and win the game just kind of on the spot. But, I mean, Jasper's got some solid defenses. He's got, creatures that are tough to deal with, like Voice of Resurgence, Scavenging Ooze, Kitchen Finks, hard to get through, Eternal Witness to kind of cycle through them, and then, he's got Collected Companies and Anafenjas to find his combo. If Ole can't kill him, if his Collected Companies are not going to be lethal, Jasper's going to have a chance to cast his Collected Companies that might essentially end the game on the spot, because, the combination of a Sacrifice Outlet, which is Viscera Seer for this deck, Anafenza Kintry Spirit, and something like Kitchen Finks, that is quote-unquote infinite life. You can keep sacrificing the Kitchen Finks to a Sacrifice Outlet. The bolster will go on the Kitchen Finks. The -1/-1 counter cancels out the +1/+1 counter, and you just have a fresh Kitchen Finks, and you can keep doing that. Yeah,
there's multiple options here in the deck. There's also 2 copies of Malira Silvok Outcast, which functions as 2 more copies of Anafenza, and then there's also the 1 Murderous Red Cap in case you want to do that same thing, but instead of gaining life, you're going to do damage to your opponent.
Or their creatures, and their many elves.
Yeah. So here we go. Well underway here, as you can see, with a bunch of mana creatures. It doesn't take long to populate a pretty impressive board state here, as Ole Rade has got already. Let's see, there's a Nettle Sentinel to go along with his Elvish Archdruid, Llanowar Elves, and Elvish Visionary. And now he's going to start generating mana from his Nykthos as well. You can see he's up to 7 here, and just trying to figure out what he wants to do. 4 mana off the Archdruid,
and then the Nykthos activating, getting a few extra mana thanks to his high devotion, already having 5 devotion on turn 3. He can cast Azuri. He can tap all his creatures in Chord for as much as 4.
This could potentially set up the win next turn here. If he can activate Azuri once or twice, that should be enough to do it. But interestingly, on Jasper's side of the board, he's already got Malira Silvok Outcast, and he gets to untap and play Collected Company. He is just 2 small combo pieces away from, allowing Azuri to go as many overruns as you want. I can gain enough life to give myself the ability to have this game go as long as I want, and he will eventually find his combo if that's the case. So this is a big junction right here, as Ole Rade has really said, okay, look, I've got all the things I need. He's just going off here on this early turn of the game, and next turn he's going to be threatening lethal damage. So it's going to be on Jasper to find his combo or to do something to disrupt this.
Right, the Collected Companies, there are 4 copies of Seer and there are 4 copies of Kitchen Fink, so he definitely have outs to be able to hit the combo and essentially win on the spot. If he doesn't, though, he's gonna die.
he will die. Yeah, I mean, look at the board state over here. If I even just looking at it like a lowly Llanowar Elves, that's a 3/3, and everything else is huge. Plus, he's going to have multiple activations of Azuri Renegade Leader there as well, which gives all the other all his other elves +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. So,
yeah, so
this is huge.
Count is already very high.
Yeah, here we go. Let's see if he can hit it. Collected Company on the stack. No interaction from Ole Rade, so he says, "Do your worst."
No interaction, no cards in hand. Held that.
All right, there's a Finks. And it's an Eternal Witness. That needed to be a Viscera Seer, and he would have found it. He actually did that in the last round, but not this time. And, the grindy sort of incremental card advantage cards like Kitchen Finks just don't look that good when your opponent's doing really powerful things really early in the game like Ole Rade is here.
Right. I mean, the Kitchen Finks can block, and it will come back, fully charged, no persist counter on it. But Jasper's going to take about 200 damage.
Right. With trample.
Well, that's why he's going to take it. Yeah. He can block some creatures.
Yeah. Though I suppose if he starts blocking with his combo pieces, that doesn't really work out well for him either. So Ole's going to start things off with a Heritage Druid here. Make 15 mana. So that's 3 overruns. 2 15. And 3. Look at the creatures. And the old attack with all button here. And I don't think Ole bothered to run the numbers on this one. He's just going to send in there, and Jasper says, yeah, well, that's not too bad. One combo
I'll
piece
take
away.
62. Dang, I wasn't at 63.
Wow, that was insane. So
fantastic draw from Ole. On a mulligan.
He was mulligan that. Wow. Yeah, very impressive. Minus 40 is what Jesper Young finishes at.
No big deal.
No biggie. So they're going to go to sideboarding here, but of course this is, while we saw the strength of Ole Rada's deck was that he was able to get his game plan into place so quickly and so powerfully, but he does give up a lot in that, in the sense that he doesn't really interact with what your opponent's doing that much.
It's true. He's already submitted his deck. I'm not sure if he sideboarded at all. I didn't actually catch that. I'm not seeing much in here that I'm excited about, let's put it that way, for cards that I'd be looking to bring in. On the other side of the board, well, there's Orzhov Pontiff, which I am excited to bring in. Other than that, though, there's not much. I mean, Sin Collector can take a Chord or a Collected Company, but not super exciting, especially when dealing with instants. Burnt and Forge Sender does nothing, and Offensa, it's just a big body. Eidolon of Rhetoric, again, not something he's interested in. Fulminator Mage, it kills Nykthos, but you're not boarding it in. Kitaki does nothing, so not a lot in Jasper's sideboard. So Ole Rade there attacked for 62 damage on, what was that? Was that turn 4?
Yeah, I think it was turn 4. I think he missed a land drop there.
so just a gentleman 62 on turn 4, no big deal or anything.
Right, that earned him the victory.
Looks like our players are sideboarded, getting ready for game 2.
Now, from Jasper's side of the table here, does the Eidolon of Rhetoric that we saw in his board, is that just too slow against one of these elf decks?
Oh yeah,
it's just way too late.
Yeah, it's not what you're looking to do.
Okay.
What you are looking to do is be on the play and have what looks to be a pretty decent hand.
All right, looks like Jasper has met both of those requirements to start off with here. He's got a Fauna Shaman in his hand that he can use to find combo pieces. He's got Anafenza Kintree Spirit. She is a combo piece, so he's already one of the good there. And he's got some value cards here too, with the Kitchen Finks, another combo piece, as well as Scavenging Ooze and an Eternal Witness. So a really nice hand there for Jasper. Looking at the other side of the table, we have Ole Rade, who has a decent hand here.
Yeah,
looks fine.
Kind of not sure about leading on that Kitchen Finks over Fauna Shaman. Fauna Shaman will find the combo piece, but also if he found a mana source, he would be able to discard a card to get a card like Orzhov Pontiff, which is pretty absurd against an elf deck.
Well, yeah, and he'd get it a whole turn sooner if he had that mana, which he actually did find here as well.
Right. I mean, the deck would have shuffled with the Fauna Shaman active. Oh no, it wouldn't have. He would have drawn that card and then been able to use Fauna Shaman. So, yeah, that would have been a pretty huge turn.
Looking at Ole Rade's side, he's now got his Scavenging Ooze down. He's going to have a bunch of mana available. That's pretty good at breaking up the combo too, right?
Right. Scavenging Ooze just disrupts Persist completely. The creature will come back from the graveyard, but you will have a chance to activate Scavenging Ooze or any other way to disrupt the graveyard, to target it from the graveyard and exile it. Once it's exiled, of course, it won't return from exile. It only returns from the graveyard, and so the Persist will essentially fizzle.
So as long as Ole has the Scavenging Ooze, that's going to prevent Jasper from going off, at least combo style. Now, one thing about these decks, this was true of Birthing Pod before it got banned, and this deck as well, is that it can also just go into value mode, right? It can just grind out a bunch of card advantage where the Scavenging Ooze isn't quite as effective.
I mean, a lot of the grinding is typically going to come from the fact that the Jasper's deck is playing 4 Eternal Witnesses, with Scavenging Ooze also shuts down. But he does have Fauna Shaman already in play. He has Anafenza that can start bolstering, the creatures that he plays. And he has Gavany Township. That's going to be tough for an elf deck to deal with. It's going to make the creatures pretty big. He's going to basically need to combo off to do anything, get through this soon-to-be massive army. And if the play is to go Fauna Shaman up something like an Orzhov Pontiff, well, his mana base is going to be pretty crippled.
Yeah, seriously, right now, Ole Rod is probably going to have to fire off a Collected Company if he has the opportunity, just to try to find more mana sources. He's got just enough mana to do so, but he's barely hanging on to that. As you said, Orzhov Pontiff could wipe away the Llanowar Elves here and leave Ole's mana base crippled. So Jasper taking a look at his options here. Remember, the Fauna Shaman there allows you to search up creatures, and that means that, you know, he's basically going to have his whole library at his disposal here, meaning that he's going to have to decide what he wants to do ahead of time, figure out his line, and then go for it.
Yeah, Jasper's been in the tank for kind of a long while here.
Jasper is currently the only undefeated player in our field at 6-0. There's a pair of 4-2s. He's playing against one of them with Ole Rade, the Hall of Famer. You see him on the bottom part of your screen there. Won an Invitational, Pro Tours. He's in the Hall of Fame. Way back in the day, too. I mean, he won his Pro Tour in 1996, his first one.
That was before I was born.
That was not before you were born.
No, not even close.
Kenji might be able to get away with that.
Well, yeah.
I don't actually know. It's just it's entirely possible that he was born then.
It only makes sense with Daddy Cheon.
All right, so Kitchen Finks is going to hit the red zone. I don't think that Ole's too concerned about this. Sitting at 17 life. Now, he could Collected Company here.
Yeah.
That he wouldn't have enough mana left over to get rid of the Finks, so...
Right. By tapping out to cast Collected Company, he does kind of just die on the spot, right? There's already a Fauna Shaman in play, so he can go get the combo.
He can go get the combo and then second main.
Yeah, just cast a Viscera Seer after getting it with Fauna Shaman, and Scavenging Ooze will be down.
Right.
And so he cannot tap out for Collected Company.
Now, this is an interesting play, though. He's decided a Court of Calling for the 2/2 Nettle Sentinel, which is going to jump in front. And since he's got the one extra mana floating there from that forest, he can use it to take out the Kitchen Finks here. And so,
yeah, really smart play from Ole.
Yeah, that was a sweet play from Ole, and he's got...
Of course, the Fauna Shaman's going to now be able to go get the Pontiff. That's going to be a problem.
That is going to be a major issue. And even though Ole has managed to keep the Scavenging Ooze around to keep the combo from going off, he's just going to fall so far behind on board.
Right. I mean, we were worried about tapping out when he had 4 mana, and now his mana supply has been cut in half.
Right. A nice hit there. He draws a forest for the turn. He's going to rumble here.
See if he chooses to use the Ooze mid-combat to deal some extra damage.
Yeah, it does seem to be the plan.
Definitely a reasonable one.
It certainly doesn't feel like this is going to get the job done, though, going going long here against Jasper's deck.
Yeah, this is a mana source, which now he can just start using Township. He can attack with his non-birds creatures, get in for 9, and threaten a lethal attack next turn. Without even doing anything else. It's just ignoring everything else that's going on.
That Pontiff was nasty.
Oh, it's a great card. Great option to have with so many ways to go get it. I mean, 3 Fauna Shamans, 2 Chords, 4 Collected Companies. So having 1 copy of Orzhov Pontiff, you get to see it when you need it pretty often, and that's a great tool to have against a deck like this.
That's right. You'll see that for these decks that can search up creatures, you know, the fact that plays a lot like a spell, but is attached to a creature, means that you can search it up with cards like Fauna Shaman that you wouldn't normally be able to. You can hit it off Collected Company or Court of Calling, where you don't really get to search up spells with that level of efficiency, and that's just one of the many.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's a Scavenging Ooze now for Jasper.
That works too. That's going to help shut down the Ooze. If Ole targets something, he can respond by using his own Ooze, thanks to a huge mana advantage. So if Ole wants an extra counter on his Ooze, he needs to do it now.
Looks like he's considering exactly that.
Yeah, trying to figure out what the odds are that he dies on the spot, which I don't think can actually happen. Although, It's not looking good. He also gets a bolster out of this.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that. Especially on a newer card like on Offenza, you know, we're not used to playing with it yet, and those bolsters add up pretty quickly too. So he's got his choice. He can actually put it on any of his creatures.
An army of 2 toughness creatures.
Yeah, even the bird.
I think you want to put it on anything but the bird. Well, not the ooze either, I guess.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, Ifro, I mean, it's just a damage situation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's still threatening lethal next turn.
This is 8 damage. If he sends the whole team here.
Interesting.
Not going to do that. He's going to get rid of Eternal Witness, put that in the bin, and search up something else with his Fauna Shaman. Let's see what he gets. Get a combo piece. He needs 2 more of those.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's looking to get here.
Get Viscera Seer, play it off the birds, attack for 5.
I don't think there's a lot of reason to do that.
I don't think so either. You know, Jesper's quite a story. He's a limited player, and he doesn't play constructed. He just doesn't bother. And today, all we've done is play constructed, and all he's done is win so far. All right, he got the red cap.
No matter what. He's going to eat all the creatures out of the graveyard, grow his ooze to a nice 4/4, come in for 5 damage.
And another collected company off the top here for Rade.
Got a full house.
He does, unfortunately for him.
Coco's full.
It is not going to get the job done as he can't cast any of the collected companies. He can play a Witness to get back Court of Calling that he can't do anything with either. And yeah, that Pontiff, that was the game. I just felt like it put Ole so far behind by taking out 2 mana sources when he had only drawn 2 lands. And now Jesper just has this dominant board presence. And you mentioned it a few minutes ago, Ifro, that Gavany Township is just looming back there too. It's not looking good for Rade. The good news for Ole Rade fans is that he did win the first game.
True.
By attacking for 62 damage with Trample. And we're going to get to see a game 3 if Jesper can finish this thing off, which it looks like he should be able to do.
If and when.
That's right. Another collected company. So we've got 4 of them on screen for you here. Curious to see how big of an impact collected company makes on Modern, you know, when we go to, you know, a GP or a Pro Tour on a bigger scale. But it certainly made a big impact here in a 16-player tournament.
No doubt about that.
And looks like Jesper just passed a turn back here.
Yeah, the 6/6 Scavenging Ooze does a pretty good job of playing defense, but the inevitability is all on Jesper's side. He's got the Township, he's got his own ooze, he's got Fauna Shaman, he's got a lot more creatures.
Yeah, and a Llanowar Elves off the top for Ole Rade is not what he wants to see, though at least it's a mana source for him. Here comes Collected Company, though, which is just going to further Jesper's board position. Let's see what he hits. He's got a Kitchen Finks and another bird. And, of course, let's not forget the 2 bolster triggers there from Offenza as well. So the bird's going to pick up one of those. And this one just looks like it's getting out of reach quickly here.
Further out of reach quicker.
Further out of reach, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to activate the Fauna Shaman here.
Right, that would require getting rid of his only creature in hand. It's a pretty important one.
And you're also just giving you're tapping out, you're giving your opponent just a free life and a counter on their ooze. Not a lot of gain there.
Alright, so now it's time for the math. See if Jesper can just do lethal here. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I think he's going to be Actually, not much short of lethal. It looks like it's only about a point short.
And that would require a chump block by the elves as well.
Correct. Yeah, it looks like 15.
Might just be running the murderous red cap to just kill the elves.
That's a reasonable line. The birds could have attacked last turn with no blockers out there, and then we'd be looking at lethal right now. Actually, the red cap can also pump the birds now with the
the bolster.
Bolster.
Yeah, that bolster.
Interestingly, he could bolster the red cap and deal 3 to something, if that were relevant.
That is cool. He really killed those elves.
Still not attacking with birds.
Passed the turn back and did not attack with either birds.
Yeah, he's just leaving up mana to respond to the Scavenging Ooze. Make sure that he's the one who gains the life. And he'll be looking at lethal next turn, although he may be facing down a Collected Company. We'll see. Guess not.
Nope. Yeah, this draw has been really awkward for Ole. Ever since his 2 Llanowar elves got killed, he just hasn't been able to put together a turn where he casts anything relevant. The Eternal Witnesses are too slow here, plus the Scavenging Ooze is taking out any value proposition there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the downsides of playing a 19-land deck.
For sure.
You know,
okay, and that's going to do it. So Ole Rade concedes to Jasper, and we're going to get a game 3 here against these 2 Collected Company decks. Jasper really looking to try to hang on and stay undefeated overnight. It would put him in a fantastic position coming into tomorrow, where we're actually going to hit his strength. We're gonna draft tomorrow, and that's where he wants to be. Also,
he hasn't
standard.
done much of that either.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I interviewed him, he's like, "Yeah, I don't really play Constructed. I've just been playing for the last month." I'm like, "Oh, so you must be really looking forward to Dragon's draft tomorrow. Like, how do you feel about that?" He's like, "Yeah, I haven't really done that either." I like Cube. I like Cube and I like Vintage Masters. I'm like, all right, that's cool.
That's good taste at least.
Like, yeah, but you know, not knowing these formats didn't hurt me. So
wow.
1 game away from being 7-0. No matter what, he'll be the overnight leader. Pretty fantastic spot to be in.
Yeah, it's a great spot for Jasper. Ole Rade would love to pick up this game and this win and put himself at X2 coming in overnight, which is also a really good position. You know, anything can happen tomorrow, but that would put him in 2nd place.
Yeah,
coming in overnight either way. So both of these players have quite a bit on the line. Gets kind of funny tomorrow too. We'll keep an eye on the standings as we move through the day, but you know, when one player, like let's just say that Jasper were to win this one, when one player just outpaces the field by a whole lot, it kind of changes the incentives on who's rooting for whom in from the middle of the pack.
It's true,
because those wins can often take away.
Yeah, if you have an 8-0 playing against a 5-3, you know, that's something that you can certainly face.
Yeah. All right, so let's get back down to the match here and take a look at our players' opening hands.
Looks like
is he on 6 here? No, I see another card over there.
Yeah, well, we need the players to pop their graveyards out.
Yeah, it's just a little off center there. We'll get that sorted. Yeah, and we have mana creatures from both players on the first turn, though. I don't think that Ole has a second land here. So he's going to play a Fauna Shaman and pass the turn back. Jasper does have a second land, so he can play something that costs 3, though. He doesn't have any 3-drops in his hand, so it looks like on Offenza. Oh, I lied. He's got an Orzhov Pontiff in his hand.
Oh, there's just an Orzhov Pontiff?
That's what was hiding under that graphic right there. So he knows that Ole's missed his second land drop. You just fired off here.
That's a great question.
Yeah, kill the Llanowar elves.
I don't know. I would say yes because he just drew the Murderous Red Cap, but under... Yeah, because he can't actually activate Fauna Shaman. The Cavern won't produce green mana.
That's right.
So, yeah, you definitely fire it off because of the Murderous Red Cap draw. If he didn't draw Murderous Red Cap, it's a pretty interesting decision. I think the answer is yes, but I could certainly see a good case for no.
Okay, well, there's Heritage Druid as a follow-up, not miking him any mana next turn, at least as it sits. So right now, this could be a quick one here. If Jasper can keep the pedal to the metal and find some pressure, he's got 2 copies of Collected Company just sitting there in his hand in the waiting in the wings here for once he clears away the board here from Ole. And these next couple of draw steps for Rade are going to be super important. If he bricks, I think this thing's going to be over quickly.
Even if he doesn't brick, this is looking tough. I mean, these Collected Companies are just going to
just bury Ole in card advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like that.
He's also a Viscera Seer off the top away from winning on the spot.
True. Yeah, he's already got the Anafenza and the mana to cast it.
He can cast Finks or Anafenza and Finks this turn, you know, bolster something and set up Collected Company next turn, just needing a Viscera Seer in the top 7 to win on the spot. Have great defenses. Like, things look great for Jasper to get to 7-0. I'm not sure how Ole can even... I just don't see it.
I don't see it either. And you know, that is one of the downsides of a deck like an Elf's deck like this, is that it's really bad at coming from behind. It just doesn't have the tools needed to do that. It kind of needs to get out ahead and stay out ahead. It does a pretty good job of that normally, but yeah, you know, his first few Elves got killed, and all of a sudden Ole's facing down a situation where he needs multiple things during the course of a turn. He's just not going to find those. So here's Kitchen Finks and Anafenza. Of course, the bolster too. I mean, he's just going to start getting beaten down.
If you look at Ole's hand, like, he had 1 mana creature, which, you know, he certainly wants. His hand is 3-drop, 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 X spell, X and 3. Like, that is a clunky draw. This is a 19-land deck, and only having 1 mana creature, of course, not finding a second land means none of those cards were castable even without the Pontiff, and so just not the best draw. A little bit too clunky. Needed a few things to come together, and Jasper's draw is fantastic.
Yeah, his draw is great. Look at his hand here. He's got a full board state already developed. He's managed to mitigate Ole's board state, and he's still got the 2 Collected Companies just sitting there waiting to either win him the game on the spot or overwhelm the board with, you know, 2-for-1. So
right, I think that Jasper could discard both these cards right here, and he'd have a huge edge in this game.
Yeah. And
as is, they are the 2 best cards he can have besides just the Viscera Seer to win on the spot.
All right, Verdant Catacombs is the draw for Jasper, looking to go 7-0, and he is mighty close to making that happen. Ole Rade's down to 15, but more importantly, way behind on board and way behind on cards too. So looks like Jasper wants to thin out some mana here, and he's going to fire off a Collected Company.
Yeah, I mean, he's a pretty huge favorite to find this Viscera Seer in the next 2 turns.
Yeah, he's got 4 copies of it in his deck here, so let's see if he finds it.
There it is.
There it is. He also found a redundant copy. There's Malera as well, so nothing really can go wrong here, and this should do it. Murderous Redcap can mow down the life total of Ole Rade and put Jasper de Jong in 7-0 overnight and clear of the field by a pretty significant margin.
Ole has hit F6 and stood up.
He just walked away.
Jasper just hit a walk-off with his Collected Company.
He certainly did. And it looks like Ole's decided to hit the showers. He's going to come back for a handshake, but that will do it. We have an undefeated player here, I have to say. Pretty exciting stuff. Jasper de Jong.
Convincing fashion.
Yeah, that was a thumping there, especially those second 2 games. I mean, Ole really crushed that first game, but after that, Orzhov Pontiff did serious work, and we've got our first undefeated player here. Nobody's going to catch him. He's going to be clear of the field by
for a while.
Multiple wins as well. All right, let's send it to the red zone and Brian David Marshall.
Thanks, guys. So Jasper doesn't show any signs of slowing down, but you know, Aleska Telerov is one of the players chasing him down. We saw him go to 4-2 last round. This round he was playing against Maxime Martin. We pick up the action, and there's a Sacred Foundry and Monastery Swiftspear, and get in there. So Maxime Martin's playing Tron, not the blue-red version that we've seen. This is more green-red Tron, and he's just taking a quick beating here. There's an Eidolon of the Great Revel. And then, oh, look at that, a Pyroclasm clears the board. So this is looking pretty good for the Tron player, but Lava Spike, Monastery Swiftspear, not necessarily in that order, gets things going. So Ancient Stirrings here on turn 3 for Maxime. Finds a Ghost Quarter, plays the Spell Skite, and the Swift Spear comes in. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll block. You pretty much know how this is going to end. There's a Lightning Helix. And it kills it, suspends a Rift Bolt. Here's a Sylvan Scrying, finds an Urza's Tower, not close to assembling the combo though. So Rift Bolt goes off. He falls to 8, pumps up the Swift Spear. He falls to 6, but there's a Lightning Bolt. Actually, it's going to bring him down to 2. And he is going to play Oblivion Stone. He's got 2 mana showing, but that's not going to be enough. And attack. And then Boros Charm for the win. So Alexa Teleroff wins game 1. But let's see what happened in game 2. I know for a fact that Martin's deck fired a little bit better for him. Let's see if we can find that one for you.
Couldn't be much worse.
It could not be much worse. It was a pretty poor showing for the Tron deck. So we get underway. Both players keep 7, and there's an Urza Power Plant and a Chromatic Sphere. And so that looks like a Rift Bolt was suspended, Ancient Stirrings, a tower, an expedition map, and so the Tron cannot be far behind, but Maxime falls to 14 from Rift Bolt and Lava Spike. And then expedition map gets popped. There's an Urza's Mine, plays Spell Skite. So this is looking okay, but here's another Rift Bolt coming off suspension. And Maxime is going to move that over to his Spell Skite, pay 2 rather than lose 3. Goes to 12. Here's Shard Volley. He goes to 9. But Maxime untaps, plays Ugin, immediately fires Ugin off to go up to 9, and Eric Froelich, what card does he play here? What card does Alexa Teleroff play here? Can you guess?
I can't guess.
I don't think you will ever guess. It is Deflecting Palm.
Oh, man.
So he Deflecting Palms the activation of Ugin. Spell Skite does something.
That was sweet.
Takes damage. He goes to 7.
Did Maxime actually redirect that back to the Spell Skite?
He did.
So that activation like ping ponged to 3 different places.
So, but Maxime looks to be in great shape here. He gets Ugin up to 11. Plays a Grove of the Burn Willows. Plays a Sylvan Scrying. Gets another Urza piece.
Is he going to ultimate Ugin here?
He's got ultimate Ugin next turn, but he's got 2 Spell Skites, so it's difficult for anything to go wrong for him. But there's a Boros Charm, which is target player. That is not redirectable.
Needs a Lava Spike here.
Or a Tarka's Command.
Oh.
And despite double Spell Skite and 11 loyalty Ugin, Alexa Teleroff wins. He goes to 5-2. He's in great shape. He's going to be at the very least tied for second place going into day 2 here, and Maxime Martin falls to 4-3. So pretty impressive stuff. Going to send it back to you guys in the booth.
Yeah, that was about as close as they get. He is 1 step away from ultimating Ugin. That's going to put him out of range of most burn spells, and couldn't quite. Womp womp indeed. That was brutal. Good win there though for Teleroff with that red base deck really crushing. And we've got an interview with Jasper down on the floor. Let's head to that right now.
I'm standing here with Jasper, our only 7-0 player after the end of the day. Jasper, you said you were mostly a limited player, is that right?
I am.
and now you're sitting at 3-0 in Vintage, and then you 4-0 the Modern. Now, talk to us about your deck a little bit. Do you think it would run this well?
The Modern or the Vintage deck? The Modern deck, yeah. Well, I did think it was very good. Modern is, I think, the format I had the most faith in, more than Limited, because as I said before, these limited formats, they're all just the fun formats like Cube.
That's what you like to do. You like to draft Cube and stuff, so.
Exactly, yeah. So. Yeah, this Modern deck, but yeah, of course, 4-0 is better than I could have ever expected.
Well, you're sitting 2 matches ahead of anybody else. I think the closest next is 5-2, so you have a really strong lead going to the next day.
I was surprised by that. So during the 6th round, I talked a bit to my opponent, and I saw, so you must be 4-1, and he was like, no, it was 3-2, and I thought, what kind of pairing are they doing? What's this? But yeah, so I'm really surprised by that.
Yeah, well, in a tournament this small, I mean, you're bound to play, multiple people or everybody, even if somebody's paired lower than you. But again, you're 2 matches ahead of everybody else, so that's a really great accomplishment. I'm not going to ask you what you're looking to do in draft tomorrow, but are you feeling more comfortable with drafting? I know you said you like doing like the cube drafts and whatnot, but do you still have a basic grasp of what you think you're going to be doing?
Well, yeah. So for this particular draft format,
you don't have to necessarily tell me because the secrets are whatnot.
I'm not gonna. I was going to say I don't know that much about this draft format. Sure. Because I played like 10 drafts. I really focused on Constructed this tournament because I haven't played Constructed for a long time before this month. And I think in Constructed you can really make a difference by playtesting a lot. And Limited, of course, really knowing a format helps. But in Limited it's more useful. If you're generally good at Limited, then you can do it. But if you always play Standard and you have to play Vintage, then you have no idea what you should be doing. So.
Yeah. Well, it really looks like your dedication paid off. How many hours, or like how much did you dedicate to Vintage versus Modern practice?
I mainly practiced Modern and Standard because I thought Vintage is the format where you can get lucky very easily. So there it pays less to practice more, and I thought, well, let's just take a deck, play some games, but not try to create a deck myself. And I did get lucky. During my first game, my opening hand contained both Black Lotus and Ancestral Recall. I felt, this is going to be a good day.
Well, thanks, Jasper, and again, congratulations on your 7-0 after day 1. Let's throw it back to the booth.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for that, Kenji. So clearly our #1 player there coming overnight there, Jasper Young. He is clear of the rest of the field at 7-0, but we can take a look now at our standings as we've wrapped up day 1 here. You can see there's a pair of players there at 5-2. Alexa Telerov, who we just saw win that close one against Ugin on 11, and Magnus Lunto are both sitting at 5-2, so well within striking distance of Jasper, and also just putting themselves in a good spot going into the rounds tomorrow. Ole Rade picks up a loss in that last round to drop to 4-3. He's going to join Maxime Martin, Antonio Del Moral Leon, and Shintaro Ishimura, as well as Daryl Ayers, all at 4-3. So those are the ones that have managed to keep their head above water at the 500 level, above the 500 level. But on the other side, we see our returning champion Lars Dom with a tough 3-4 start. Martin Dang, Timothy Divelbliss, as well as Sebastian Pozzo, all at 3 and 4. You got to figure like they're still in striking distance, though, right?
I think the players at 2 and 5 are still in striking distance. You're going to need a good draft and hopefully a good standard deck. You may need all 7. You may be able to get away with far less. A lot of that's going to depend on how Jasper does. I mean, if someone runs the table, the record that you need to actually make the top 4 is significantly lower. He's going to get pared down a number of rounds. He's pretty likely that he's going to obviously face either Magnus or Alexa in round 1 tomorrow, and a good chance he'll face the other one the next round, especially if one of them wins. If the other one that he doesn't play between Magnus and Alexa loses round 1, well, he's going to be playing someone who's 5-3 in round 2, whether he's 7-1 or 8-0. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It doesn't necessarily matter too much whether you're the 1st seed or the 4th seed in an event like this, but you just got to make a run. You just got to get to that 4 seed, and then anything can happen on Sunday.
Yeah. So you saw the rest of it. We had 3 players at 2 and 5 and 1 at 1 and 6 with a tough day. But like you said, they might even still be in this, so they're going to have to put together something pretty special tomorrow. But as we've seen, that's certainly possible here as we've got our #1 player coming overnight.